After transmigrating, I obtained an extraordinary treasure that allows me to save and reload infinitely. It can transform everything I genuinely experienced in each lifetime into a simulation experience, allowing me to be reborn and return to the initial anchor point I set, which is the exact moment I first transmigrated into this world. At the very beginning, I didn't even know this treasure existed. In my first life, because I repeatedly failed the imperial examinations, I started a small business and became a moderately wealthy man. I married, had children, and lived out a peaceful, ordinary life. It wasn't until just before my death that I awakened the treasure, the Wanjin, which led to my current second life. Once I knew I had this cheat-like treasure, I was no longer content with being ordinary in this lifetime. Using the accumulation of my past life, I worked my way up all the way to the position of Grand Preceptor of Taishan country. I held ultimate power, with tens of thousands of officials kneeling before me. Just when I thought my second life would culminate like this, I was astonished to discover that cultivators actually exist in this world. One day, two cultivators suddenly came to the capital of Taishan country to fight each other. From their conversation, it could be gathered that they were originally good brothers. Now, however, they had turned against each other for a golden core cultivation technique. They also revealed a piece of critical information: this place is a land devoid of immortals, which is why there were no cultivators here. The pursued cultivator, Kohong, fled to this place because he wanted to use the mortal-immortal resonance generated by the mortals here to deal with his former brother, Dao Xuanzi, and gamble for a slim chance of survival. Without a second thought, Kohong instantly destroyed the capital city. Naturally, my Grand Preceptor mansion could not escape either. After everything settled back into quietness, having narrowly escaped death, I woke up from the ruins. Looking at the capital city engulfed in flames all around, I knew that less than 1 in 100 citizens could have survived this catastrophe. Afterward, I burst into laughter like a madman. My mind was entirely consumed by the question of how cultivators could exist in this world. Ever since I became an official, I had put all my effort into having people search for traces of the immortal path. But no matter the direction east, west, south, or north, not a single trace of a cultivator was ever found. I never expected that on the very day I had given up and grown old, I would encounter them. Subsequently, I checked the charging status of the treasure, Huanjin. The charging is currently complete, and I can reload it any time, but I chose not to use it just yet. Instead, during the time the capital city was being rebuilt after the disaster, I ordered the soldiers across the land to continue investigating the whereabouts of those two cultivators. However, even after several months had passed and the capital city was fully rebuilt, there was still no sign of the two cultivators. Nevertheless, it could be inferred that they came from the eastern ruins, which aligned closely with my expectations. Since that was the case, there was nothing left to linger for. I immediately activated the Wanjin reload. In an instant, I returned to the time when I was young, right after I had just transmigrated. The system also displayed the process of how I became the Grand Preceptor in my previous life, one by one. Once the simulation ends, I can choose a reward from the options, or decline the reward to accelerate the charging speed of the Wanjin for this lifetime. Looking at the options provided by the system, I pondered seriously. First of all, options 1 and 2 would be helpful if I were a cultivator, but unfortunately, I was just a mortal in my last life, all things considered.
It's safer for me to choose option 4, foregoing the reward to accelerate the Wanjin's charging speed. This is because the charge isn't just for the reload function, it can also consume charging progress to protect me when I'm in danger. This is also why I was able to survive the cultivator's attack in my previous life. Afterward, I checked my personal status panel. The charging progress had directly reached 30%.